Hello, America. I'm Mark Levin, and this is Life, Liberty, and Levin. Welcome. I know you can be 1,000 different places on Sunday. You can always DVR the program too, and we have a killer show. I'm glad you're here. Two great guests. James Trusty, former Department of Justice prosecutor, former President Trump lawyer, and Matt Whitaker, former acting United States Attorney General. We've got a lot to discuss. But before we get into the weeds on the legal issues, and we will make it interesting, I want to discuss a little bit of history with you. History is lost on prosecutors. It's lost on all these debate shows. It's lost among lawyers who talk about January 6th. Oh, it was an insurrection. No, it wasn't. We've had contentious presidential elections in the past. I mean, really contentious. Some have almost led to civil wars. One did. In 1800, Thomas Jefferson and his chosen vice presidential pick, Aaron Burr, tied for first place because back then the ballots were separate for president and vice president, even though they might run in the same party. And it was 73 to 73 electors due to a communication error among Democratic Republican electors, or a Burr-led conspiracy, depending on whom you believe. In other words, Burr was disloyal to Jefferson. Jefferson was really running against Adams at the time, but he only got 65 electoral college votes. For the first of only 2 times in American history, the election went to the House of Representatives. They had over 30 votes back and forth and back and forth. The House was to choose the next president. Alexander Hamilton had enormous power. He disliked Jefferson immensely, but he hated Aaron Burr. So finally, what happens is Alexander Hamilton, of course, he was the first Treasury Secretary. He turned the tide by lobbying his fellow Federalists to throw their support to Jefferson. A couple years later, the famous duel that took place between Burr and Hamilton, where Burr killed Hamilton and then Burr fled the country. That seems a little more contentious than what took place on January 6th in the last election, but there's more here. Let's take a look. 1824. This was a doozy. There were 4 candidates. They were all, the Federalist Party had dissolved. They were all Democrat Republicans. Then there was Andrew Jackson, you might recall, the hero of the War of 1812. He won the popular vote by fewer than 39,000 votes, captured 99 electoral votes. Secretary of State John Quincy Adams, he took 84 electoral votes, came in second. 41 votes went for William Crawford. He was the Treasury Secretary, and 37 for the House Speaker, Henry Clay. So no candidate earned a majority of the electoral votes. The election again went to the House of Representatives. Clay was eliminated. He was the lowest vote getter. Only 3 candidates can be considered, but the House still controlled. After a month of back and forth negotiations, it went on and on. Henry Clay supporters threw their weight behind John Quincy Adams. Even though he had gotten less votes than Jackson, less electoral college votes than Jackson. So Adams would become president, and he would choose Henry Clay as his Secretary of State soon after his inauguration. This enraged Andrew Jackson. He resigns from the Senate. He called it a corrupt bargain. He said the whole election was a fraud, and then he would go back and run again the next time around, and he would defeat Adams. But this almost led to a civil war. Then 1860, presidential election wasn't just contentious, as is pointed out, it tore the nation apart. Abraham Lincoln got about 39% of the popular vote. He was running against Senator Stephen Douglas, the Democrat from Illinois. They were both from Illinois, actually. Also running for president was John Breckinridge, as well as John Bell of Tennessee. Lincoln won, as I said, about 39% of the vote, but took most of the electoral college votes in the North and California and Oregon. Breckinridge won the electoral votes in most of the South, along with Maryland, Delaware. Bell won Tennessee, Kentucky, and Virginia. Douglas captured only Missouri, despite finishing second in the popular vote. You had a real mess. Just weeks after Lincoln's victory, South Carolina voted to secede. 6 more southern states followed. forming the Confederate States of America in February 1861, and they elected Democrat Jefferson Davis as their president. I would say that was pretty contentious, America, but it also gave us Abraham Lincoln. Here's the biggest, 1876. Democrat Governor Samuel Tilden of New York won 250,000 more votes in the popular vote than Rutherford B. Hayes, the Republican. He also got 19 more Electoral College votes. But Tilden was still one electoral vote, one, short of the required 185 majority. And 20 votes remained uncounted. In Florida, Louisiana, and South Carolina, why? Because their votes were too close to call. Each party accused the other of fraud. And yet in Oregon, one elector was declared illegal and replaced with controversial results. So you had a crisis here, the greatest electoral crisis in American history, and threats of another civil war. It was 1876. So what happened here? Congress established a 15-member commission of senators, congressmen, and Supreme Court justices. So they said, we can't figure this out. Let's have a commission. So this is about as far as from the popular vote in the electorate as you can get. But keep something in mind. Congress is making all these decisions. Not a Department of Justice, not a prosecutor. In every one of these cases where fraud is alleged, where there's lobbying, where there's pressure on state legislatures and so forth and so on, it's the give and take of politics. And Congress has the final say under the Constitution. Congress and nobody else. So they set up this 15-member commission of senators, congressmen, Supreme Court justices, 7 Republicans, 7 Democrats, 1 independent, ultimately to decide the election. After that swing vote turned to Hayes, that one controversial elector, goes to Hayes. Hayes, even though he is 20 Electoral College votes behind, even though he got 250,000 less votes than did Tilden, it goes to Hayes. And so what does the commission say? Well, the swing guy went for Hayes. We'll give the other 19 Electoral College votes to Hayes. So the commission picks the president, Rutherford B. Hayes, who had the less popular vote, the less Electoral College vote, and they threw the 20 Electoral College votes remaining to Hayes. And after the Democrats, they said, you know what, we don't have to put up with this. We're going to filibuster this and block the official vote count that's going to take place. So what did they do after that? Well, they met at a hotel in Washington in February 1877, and they worked out a compromise. The Democrats would accept Hayes' victory, provided that Hayes removed all federal troops from the South. The compromise consolidated Democrat control of the region, the South, effectively ended Reconstruction, reversing the gains that African Americans had made during the post-Civil War era. So the Democrats not only did that, they undermined the efforts that had been undertaken by a Republican president earlier, Ulysses S. Grant, to send the U.S. Army into the South to destroy the Klan. All that changed as a result of the 1876 election. Now, later they'd pass a statute to try and work all these things out. But it's amazing. Nobody was indicted, Mr. Producer. Nobody was charged with anything. It's just incredible. Then we have the election of 2000. Al Gore, George W. Bush, all came down to Florida. A couple hundred votes. Al Gore brings the first lawsuit, and it becomes litigation hell. Different districts throughout the state, forum shopping by both sides, trying to find judges that would uphold this part of the law, that part of the law. Meanwhile, the radical left-wing Democrat-controlled Florida Supreme Court steps in and keeps changing the law, changing the law, changing the law to try and get Gore over the finish line. In the end, the U.S. Supreme Court steps in and says, that's enough. That's enough. The voting has to stop at some point. The Supreme Court of Florida can't keep changing the rules. They are destroying one person, one vote, the entire concept. And so George Bush winds up being the winner. And he wins the Electoral College by 5 votes. He also lost the popular vote by over 500,000 votes. That was a very contentious election, and we all know it. January 6th, this past cycle for the president, said to be an insurrection. And President Trump was said to be guilty of seditious conspiracy. We had a whole January 6th commission set up by Nancy Pelosi. She picked the Democrats and the Republicans. She rejected the Republicans that Leader McCarthy had chosen. It's never been done before in American history. And they do all this one-sided public stuff, and they turn it over to a prosecutor. Well, the funny thing about the prosecution is, here it is. There is a criminal act, rebellion or insurrection, passed during the Civil War period. It appears nowhere in the charges against Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not guilty of rebellion or insurrection. He's not even charged with it. Whoever incites, sets on foot, assists, or engages in any rebellion or insurrection against the authority of the U.S. or the laws thereof, or gives aid or comfort thereto, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. That's not in here. Well, what about seditious conspiracy? I remember legal analysts all over cable TV, some here, CNN for sure, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington, but seditious conspiracy, they have Trump dead to rights. But it's not in the charges. If two or more persons in any state or territory in any place subject to the jurisdiction of the United States conspire to overthrow, put down, or to destroy by force the government of the United States, or to levy war against them, or to oppose by force the authority thereof, or by force to prevent, hinder, or delay the execution of any law of the United States, or by force to seize, take, or possess any property of the United States, contrary to the authority thereof, they shall each be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 20 years or both. So why? Why didn't this out-of-control rogue, Eric Holder, Obama, Biden prosecutor, Garland's man, Smith, bring these charges? Because he had no evidence. Rebellion or insurrection. All the testimony of the January 6th committee, all the testimony, all the witnesses, all the documents, not a scintilla of evidence that Donald Trump led any kind of rebellion or insurrection. What about seditious conspiracy? There was no seditious conspiracy. Donald Trump is the man who said, if they want 10,000 armed Army soldiers to protect them on January 6th, please let me know. Well, nobody's leading an insurrection if they're offering armed federal troops to protect the Capitol building. And we heard what Donald Trump said about peacefully lobbying Congress. So it doesn't work. So what happened? So Jack and the boys go back and they say, you know what, we can't let this go anyway. So they go back to the Civil War, post-Civil War period, a law that was passed in 1871. It was called the Ku Klux Klan Act at the time to try and defeat the Klan. That's one of the counts here, 18 U.S.C. 241, conspiracy against rights. It is a disgusting and preposterous overreach. Then we have two counts under 18 U.S.C. 1512. Now, these laws were passed in 2002 to address gaps that they felt existed in the Enron scandal investigation. These are considered the Enron statutes. They have nothing to do with January 6 protests, even though this has been used, so-called obstruction. This has been used against one protester after another by these same prosecutors from January 6th. This has not yet gone to the Supreme Court. It will be tested by the Supreme Court, and I believe the Supreme Court will say, no, this was never intended to be used that way. Then we have count one, 18 U.S.C. 371. Now, that count is a garden variety statute that the federal government uses against federal contractors, people who cheat the government out of money and so forth. And that has been expanded to include, challenging the legitimate activity of the government. Again, stretched completely out of control. Those are the four charges. This is a disgusting attack on our electoral system. And as I've said before, the electoral system in America is now dead unless all of this is reversed. We cannot have, after all these years, more than 2 centuries, a Department of Justice and U.S. attorneys with 20/20 hindsight delving into what a president or a candidate thinks. Now, that 1876 election, I told you that states sent in 2 groups of electors. You're free to do that. Congress decides all this stuff. They're not criminal activities. So, but now, what are the rules for running, challenging, and disputing elections today? We don't know. Who decides? Apparently prosecutors. What can a candidate, or when can a candidate rely on legal advice, since President Trump's lawyers are being indicted for giving legal advice? Is a president not free to discuss decisions about elections with his vice president and strongly urge him to take one position or another? Of course he's free to do that. Is a president free to publicly dispute election results? They all do when they lose, including people like Hillary Clinton and Al Gore. The electoral process is now not purely political and constitutional as was intended, but now it is the control of prosecutors, Department of Justice, and in the hands of these people in the Biden administration, it is a disaster. And the judge who's going to hear this case is the most radical, partisan, activist, Obama appointee in the entire federal judiciary. Gee, I wonder how she got chosen. We'll be right back.
The majority of my patients with sensitivity, I see irritated gums and weak enamel. Sensodyne sensitivity gum and enamel relieves sensitivity, helps restore gum health, and rehardens enamel. I'm a big advocate of recommending things that I know work.
With Gold Bond, you can age on your own terms. Retinol Overnight means the smoothing benefits of retinol are now for your whole body. Plus, fast-working crepe corrector diminishes wrinkled skin in just 2 days. Gold Bond, championing your skin.
This is the Carry-On Closet, a suitcase with a one-of-a-kind patented closet system that keeps you organized anywhere. Pack all you need for up to 10 days and travel without ever unpacking. The comfort of home on the go. Unpack in seconds at Solgaard.co.
This country has never been so divided. Are you a licorice lover or hater? We at Licorice.com have 50-plus gourmet flavors that you'll flip out over. Get some for yourself or a licorice lover in your life. Licorice lovers unite at Licorice.com.
My employees and I are excited to announce it's our 20th anniversary, and to celebrate, we're bringing you a limited edition MyPillow. The Giza Elegance MyPillow is made with the most amazing cotton, 2-inch pipe gusset, comes in 4 custom loft levels, and it's machine washable and dryable.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night, and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. That's why we've been around for 20 years, because MyPillow works.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get your limited edition 20th anniversary MyPillow queen size. Retails for $69.98, now only $19.98. That's right, only $19.98.
With my 60-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose. Sleep well, America!
When you can't watch, listen. Get the latest news, business, and news headlines on SiriusXM. Anytime, anywhere. Fox News Audio on SiriusXM. America is listening.
Develop a gorgeous app with Fiverr. You'll need your product manager, QA engineer, and Omar, a Fiverr freelance product designer with an impressive number of orders who will join your team from home. Smart and cozy. Expand your team with a Fiverr freelancer.
More than 100 million Americans rent, but more than 97% of renters don't get credit for paying their rent on time. With Self, you can change all that and build credit just by paying your rent. Download Self and get the credit you deserve.
After 50, sore joints, they can slow us down. I'm not ready for that. I found a secret to turn back the clock on my stiff, achy joints by years without products that just temporarily hide my symptoms and may have scary side effects. My secret? Instaflex Advanced.
Get a complimentary sample just by texting ARCH to 369-369.
Instaflex Advanced targets the root cause of joint soreness and stiffness with a unique combination of 5 key natural ingredients found nowhere else. Key ingredients backed by 5 clinical studies. Instaflex Advanced is so powerful, I had better knees in just 1 week. You gotta try it.
Instaflex Advanced is the #1 selling joint brand at GNC, but you can only get your complimentary sample by texting ARCH to 369-369. Plus, text now and we'll include a tube of Instaflex pain cream for fast-acting relief in the pain of arthritis, backaches, and sore muscles absolutely free. Text ARCH to 369-369 today.
Welcome back, America. We're here with one of the finest litigators I know, Jim Trusty, who used to work at the Department of Justice, also a former federal prosecutor. He's with the If for Law firm, a law partner there, and was a former lawyer for Donald Trump. Jim Trusty, you see what's taking place in Washington, D.C. I've read this complaint now, and there's nothing in here at all. 18 U.S. Code 2383 about rebellion or insurrection. I thought that's what this was all about. 18 U.S. Code Section 2384, seditious conspiracy. I heard former federal prosecutors saying they have them dead to rights on that. Instead, what I read is an assault on the First Amendment, an assault on attorneys providing advice who are indicted for giving advice the government doesn't agree with. I see this really as a political statement dressed up as a legal statement here. Do you agree? And if so, how does somebody get away with this?
Yeah, well, we get away with this because of the fact you've got an attorney general who's completely politicized the DOJ, and they're carrying water for the Biden administration in a very destructive way. I mean, you've touched on it perfectly, Mark. The problem is this is creative prosecution. You know, that's the last thing you want. What you want in a situation where the stakes are this high, when you're literally affecting elections and when you're literally going after a former president, what you'd want from a Department of Justice is scrupulous transparency, where they are literally willing to have anybody look over their shoulder that asks, including special masters or judges, where they are forthcoming with discovery, where they basically don't do anything that's obviously creative, because the creativity shows that this is just ends justify the means. This is just a group that has decided, even if we don't have the evidence that we were hoping for, we're going to come up with something. We've got the target. Now we're going to come up with the charges. And so I think if you look at these indictments, you know, it is a very bad precedent for what is considered fair game in a high-profile public integrity type prosecution.
If you're a lawyer advising candidates, now you are exposed to possible indictment if after the fact a prosecutor looks back on this, could be any U.S. attorney at this point now, they look back and they say, you know what, you lied. You know what, the advice that you gave to your candidate was intended to obstruct the peaceful movement from one senator to another, one administration to another. I mean, this document literally destroys the ability to get straight legal advice. It destroys the ability for a candidate to know what's in, what's out, what the rules of the game are, who's going to decide them, and so forth and so on. Isn't that for Congress to decide other than a grand jury?
Yeah, I mean, Mark, look, there's a commonality between the two federal indictments, between Mar-a-Lago and now this Klein conspiracy, as they call it, under the statute 18 U.S.C. 371. The commonality in these indictments is that DOJ has blown open important privileges that are held by presidents and others. And so in the Mar-a-Lago case, attorney-client privilege, which is almost absolutely inviolable, was blown open by a friendly judge to allow for an indictment to have all these highlight moments of what Evan Corcoran said or what the exchange was between Evan Corcoran and the president about complying with the subpoena. The common thing we see in this more recent indictment is there's no such thing as executive privilege. The highlights in this indictment tend to be conversations between the vice president and the president, which used to be sacrosanct. So what you're coming up with is a model for candidates or for presidents or for vice presidents where they have to know that, hey, all this stuff that's supposed to be behind closed doors so we can run this country is fair game for ambitious, creative prosecutors. And so we can't have these conversations. I mean, we want to encourage frankness and disagreement between these high-level people that are running our country. And these two indictments stand for the proposition that we'll criminalize it if there's a disagreement. And that is the worst precedent imaginable in a case that demands transparency.
It's very important what you're saying here. Attorney-client privilege was denied Donald Trump in the documents case. It was litigated in secret. We still haven't read the order that the judge issued. I assume the judge in Florida is going to have an opportunity to figure this stuff out. A motion will likely be fired, I hope, by the Trump lawyers challenging all this. It's very difficult to see how you have due process when the information that you discussed with your lawyer becomes the basic information used by the government against you. I can't think of another system like this. The crime fraud exception, as we talk about, is a very, very high bar. So just so the public understands, it's not that, what if I do this? What if I do this? What if I do this? That's fair game. The issue is when you try to get your lawyer, look, Frank, my lawyer Frank, you need to destroy those documents. I insist that you destroy those documents. That's the crime fraud exception, not asking what happens if I destroy the documents. Any client is free to ask their lawyer that sort of thing. We don't know anything about this, do we, Jim?
Yeah, well, I might know a little, but look, I mean, the reality is exactly what yeah, and there's things obviously I can't talk about. But what I would just say is this. The crime fraud exception is designed to be what you're talking about, where there is cause and effect. Even if the attorney is unwitting, in other words, they're not purposefully breaking the law, you have to show to a court, considering that crime fraud exception, that the advice was given and that the client then said, oh, well, therefore, I will now be able to break the law. So it would be like, hey, Frank, can I destroy all these documents they're looking for? And Frank says, yeah, that would make it go away. And then he destroys the documents, right? That would be a situation where, you know, you would at least have the possibility of blowing open the attorney-client relationship for that purpose. I can just tell you there was nothing like that here. And the bottom line is the indictment has all of these nuggets of conversations that happen every day of the week. When you talk about white-collar investigations where an executive turns to his lawyer and says, hey, can we fight this subpoena? Do we have to turn stuff over? What would happen if I do this? What would happen if I do that? We as a society, as a criminal justice system, want to encourage those types of interchanges. And right now, because of the desire to get one man and one man only, the Department of Justice has created new law, new precedent, new damage to the institution of the presidency because of their pursuit of one man.
We'll be right back.
Back in my day, we didn't have all these types of fancy chicken.
Pretty sure you have buffalo wings and fried chicken.
Well, we didn't have garlic parm or sweet bourbon barbecue.
And he had to walk uphill both ways.
And it snowed every time.
Yeah, right, Grandpa. You're from Miami.
Have you ever wondered why traditional laundry detergent contains 90% water? We at EarthBreeze have created a new dissolvable laundry detergent. Because why pay extra for water? Join the millions of Americans who've made the switch and ditched the plastic. Learn more at earthbreeze.com.
An unthinkable genocide took the lives of 6 million Jews, and thousands of Jewish survivors are still suffering in poverty today.
God calls on people who believe in him to act on his word. Comfort ye, comfort my people.
These elderly Jews are weak and they're sick. They're living on $2 a day, which is impossible.
They don't have enough money to buy food. It is a miserable situation and they have nowhere else to turn but to us for help.
This now is how God's children are living. Take this time to send a survival food box to these forgotten Jews.
The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews urgently need your gift of $25 now to help provide one survival food box with all of the essentials they critically need for their diet for 1 month.
No vitamins and no protein, so my legs and hands are very weak.
Let's make sure that we bring them just a little bit of hope by bringing them a little bit of food.
Become a part of the fellowship today by reaching out to bless these precious people of God. For just $25, you can help supply the essential foods they desperately need for 1 month.
Your support will provide them with a box overflowing with nourishing food and the knowledge that faithful Christians around the world care about them.
God tells us to take care of them, to feed the hungry. And I pray Holocaust survivors will be given the basic needs that they so desperately pray for to survive.
I'm Carolyn. I've been in private practice of physician's physical therapy for 35 years.
And you're going to come in, but breathe. Yep, perfect.
I open up at 4 a.m. and I'll go on till 10 a.m. and it's day after day. And as you can see by the equipment here, we are intensely active. People watch, they observe, and people say, Carolyn, what's your secret? And I say it's from proper diet, proper exercise, and of course, through Balance of Nature. I'm 60, but since taking Balance of Nature, I feel the energy level of 27. I've been taking Balance of Nature for several years, and I love it. I endorse it, I believe in it, and I would recommend it.
You asked and we listened. This week only, we're extending our special travel offer. Right now, get $25 off and a free travel set. Use discount code Fox News.
Welcome to Fox News Live. I'm John Scott in New York. Former Vice President Mike Pence is leaving the door open to possibly testifying in the trial of former President Trump regarding his actions on January 6th. Pence says he's currently not planning on it, but says he will if legally obligated. It wouldn't be the first time he appeared in court for the case. Pence testified before a federal grand jury in April after being subpoenaed. Trump has pleaded not guilty to the charges. The U.S. Navy on high alert after an unprecedented display of military force by China and Russia. Officials say nearly a dozen warships from the two countries were seen sailing together last week off the Alaskan coast. U.S. Navy destroyers were sent to keep watch on the fleet. The ships reportedly stayed in international waters. The ongoing war in Ukraine and China-Taiwan tensions have strained U.S. relations with both countries. I'm John Scott. Now back to Life, Liberty, and Levin.
Welcome back, America. In addition to denying President Trump attorney-client privilege in one case and executive privilege in the other case in his communications with his vice president, you see anything else weird going on here, Jim Trusty?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's a real parallel between two investigations that speak volumes about this attorney general and his integrity. The IRS whistleblowers on the Hunter Biden case said that they went to the assistant U.S. attorney ready to do a search warrant to find documents belonging to Hunter Biden. That could be a real treasure trove, of course. The AUSA didn't just say, no, we're not doing the search warrant. She picked up the phone and called Hunter's lawyers and said the IRS is trying to search location X. Okay, in my book, that's basically obstruction of justice. The parallel on the Mar-a-Lago case is that you had the high-level DOJ official, according to a statement submitted as an officer to the court, to a federal judge, told Stanley Woodward, a defense attorney representing Walt Nauta, that it would be a shame, essentially, if he endangered his pending judgeship by not flipping Nauta against President Trump. Again, it's extortion. And so the people that we are entrusting in our criminal justice system to fairly and impartially and transparently pursue justice are actually obstructionists because they're so hell-bent on going after one target against President Trump. And I hope your viewers recognize there's a lot of details, a lot of legal and factual arguments. I hope and try to be an evidence-driven guy, but there's evidence from both of those cases that suggests this Department of Justice, if those accusations are right, has no compunction about breaking the rules, about destroying the rule of law because of their political interest in being the ones that got President Trump.
Do we know where that extortion case is now? What the judges found? I mean, it would seem to me it's relevant to the judge in Florida, that the judge in D.C. come to a conclusion.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, look, you had a presiding judge in D.C. that had a case that suddenly became indicted in Florida, and I'm not saying that it was bad for the president that the case moved to Florida, but there's a lot of shenanigans in terms of grand jury usage. You know, you don't do a grand jury investigation for a year only to move it to another district unless there's more to the story. I'm concerned that some of those abusive behaviors we talked about played out in front of the grand jury in D.C., and so what Florida got was a much sanitized version of what was presented over the course of a year in D.C. So, again, I'm not on the case. There'll be litigation, I assume, that relates to these issues of how the grand jury was used or abused. But it's certainly, again, new territory when DOJ shifts an investigation at the last minute to an entirely different venue.
And they would start an investigation in a grand jury in one place and move it to another, which violates the rules of the Department of Justice. But there's a lot of reasons you can do that if you're really a sleazy prosecutor, including you feel you can get a better grand jury from your perspective in Washington, D.C. than in Florida. You're making a point, I'm reading between the lines here, that a lot of stuff took place in that grand jury in Washington, D.C., that the grand jury and the judge in Florida can't possibly know about. You talked about sanitizing that process. I assume some of that, I'm guessing, has to do with attorney-client privilege information and so forth. The reason I'm saying that is past people I have talked to that have faced this man, Smith, say that's exactly what he does. He pierces attorney-client privilege by hook or by crook, gets it in front of the grand jury. It's used in front of the grand jury. And now in this case, he's moved it to another grand jury. And so the grand jury in Florida and the judge in Florida don't know anything about it unless Trump's lawyers are good enough to raise it with them. Is that your point?
Yeah, I think that's right. Again, I think there's a lot to be looked into. Of course, the grand jury proceedings in general are one-sided, right? The old saying about the grand jury will indict a ham sandwich if a prosecutor asks them to. We understand that. We're not pretending that the grand jury should be like a full-blown trial. It's not. But when judges make historic decisions based on ex parte submissions, in other words, one-sided submissions that defense attorneys don't get to even challenge, to make history, and then, by the way, to avoid all appeals by rushing the witnesses in the grand jury right after they get the friendly ruling, I mean, all of that smells rotten to me. And I think it's the type of stuff that will hopefully be brought to the attention of Judge Cannon or Judge Chutkan, depending on what the specific issue is in Florida or in D.C.
And as you started out, the idea that this is being done to a former president who's running for president again, the stretching of laws, the application of laws that have nothing to do in many cases with what's taking place, a general warrant rather than a very clean, laser-focused warrant, sending SWAT teams in, whereas Biden's son, his lawyers get a heads up from the government and so forth. This damn thing is so completely out of control. Jim Trusty, I want to thank you very, very much. God bless you, my friend.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Good talking to you.
We'll be right back.
Name's Josie Wales.
You wanted, Wales.
You a bounty hunter?
Yeah, he's got to do something for a living.
Dying ain't much of a living.
You're a man who makes people afraid, and that's dangerous.
I'm getting the feeling I know you from someplace.
You do?
It's about time this town had a new sheriff. Want Louis Chama?
$500, and I don't care who pulls the trigger.
Price will be $1,000.
We're talking about hiring a gunfighter.
Fellow like that, what do we know about him? Who is he? Where's he come from?
Why didn't you take my call?
What does it say that I gotta drop what I'm doing and answer the phone every time it rings?
Who are you?
If you're like I was, you're tired of worn-out plastic mats under your office chair. They dent and crack, and they're uncomfortable to roll on. I found a premium alternative, a glass chair mat by Vitraza. I liked it so much, I bought the company. I'm George Pardo, president of Vitraza. Our glass chair mats are made of super strong glass and protected with a nanotech coating, so you'll always get a smooth, easy glide. And they're beautiful. Tired of replacing plastic? I promise this is the last chair mat you'll need. And we give you a lifetime warranty. Comfort, style, durability. A Vitraza glass chair mat will completely transform your workspace, home office or office. We stock 18 popular sizes, and we ship free to anywhere in the lower 48. Get the look you deserve. I invite you to shop online at Vitraza.com. Use promo code TV and save 10% on any glass chair mat at Vitraza.com.
Hi, Grandma. I played baseball today.
Oh, that's great.
What position did you play?
First base.
That's what Grandpa used to play.
When our hearing wouldn't allow us to use a regular phone, it made us feel isolated.
It became difficult to communicate with our friends and family.
Clear Captions was an easy solution for us.
Clear Captions provides captions on a phone like captioning on your TV, so you can see what the caller is saying live as they say it.
Making it easy to understand and respond immediately.
There is no insurance or Medicare required. Clear Caption service is provided at no cost to you through a federally funded program. We deliver, install, and train you on how to use your phone, all at no cost to you.
Give your loved ones the independence and connection they deserve.
Call now to see if you qualify to get a Clear Captions phone at no cost to you. Call 1-800-916-7705. That's 1-800-916-7705.
There he is. It's right there. Oh, he's straight ahead. He's straight ahead. Go, go, go.
Cover more ground in the Kia Sportage Turbo Hybrid. Kia, movement that inspires.
This is the Carry-On Closet, a suitcase with a one-of-a-kind patented closet system that keeps you organized anywhere. Pack all you need for up to 10 days and travel without ever unpacking. The comfort of home on the go. Unpack in seconds at Solgaard.co.
Introducing a revolution in pain relief. New Absorbine Junior Pro, the strongest numbing pain relief available. It's the only solution with 2 max strength anesthetics for deep penetrating relief. Absorbine Junior Pro. Nothing numbs pain more.
Welcome back, America. We have a very fine man with us, former acting United States Attorney General Matt Whitaker. Matt Whitaker, I want to talk to you quickly about Devon Archer, about Joe Biden, the information that has come up from the release of the committee's investigation and interview of Devon Archer in relation to the Foreign Agents Registration Act. Number one, the Foreign Agents Registration Act is one of the most ambiguous and broadest laws I've ever read. You can take a net and catch anybody you want. And yet for years they didn't catch anybody, they didn't pursue anybody until Mueller went after Paul Manafort. And now this law is being used. How is it possible, Matt Whitaker, that the United States Department of Justice comes up with a deal, as the judge in Wilmington noticed, and FARA, the issue here, the Foreign Agents Registration Act, communication with foreign governments, communications with foreign companies, you don't even have to exchange money, just give advice. But they did exchange money. He did give advice. How is it possible that Hunter Biden hasn't been charged with violating FARA the way they charged Manafort and the way they're charging other people, unless this is a complete sweetheart cover-up operation?
Well, yeah, I mean, Mark, this is something that has been like really the top of my mind as it relates to the Hunter Biden plea deal. And that is, you have a plea deal that one, ignores the most serious crimes because they've now been time barred, the 14 and 15 tax years that we know Hunter Biden failed to pay millions in taxes. We know now that he was getting a blanket future immunity from future prosecutions. But at the same time, and this is what I think is the most interesting piece of this and the most disgusting at the same time, and that is that they said and continue to say that it was part of an ongoing investigation. So they were shielding themselves from Congress ever looking into this because, well, on the one hand, they were resolving all the claims, including future claims, as this plea agreement reads, this diversion agreement, and at the same time saying that it continued to be under investigation. And now that this judge saw exactly what was happening and poked a hole and it deflated quickly, we're finding out that that's exactly what had happened. And remember, Mark, our system is based on adversarial justice. You have a prosecutor and you have a defense. And in this case, there was no adversary because the government was doing exactly what the defendant wanted.
So the Department of Justice effectively is representing Joe Biden and his family.
Yeah.
Hunter Biden has his own lawyers representing Hunter Biden. But the information that's come out now, the testimony that Devon Archer gave makes it abundantly clear. It was abundantly clear with the laptop and witnesses involved in that and other business partners and so forth that Joe Biden knew that his son was doing business with foreign countries and foreign governments. He had to know. There's just way too much interaction. There's way too much substantive information. So here, to me, is the $64,000, or now I'll say, given the lottery, $1.2 billion question. If Joe Biden was assisting his son just by taking phone calls, showing up at golfing events, having these people at the office, having dinner with them twice in Washington, D.C. Is he not a co-conspirator in the violation of FARA by his son? It seems to me like it's an open and shut matter.
Yeah, you're right, Mark, because as you know, conspiracy laws only take you to one overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. And in this case,
just one.
FARA, just one overt act. And in this case, you had Joe Biden over 20 times, whether on the phone, and in 2 cases, he was sat down for dinner, it sounds like, or for a meeting or for coffee, but with foreign nationals. And remember, this is quintessential influence peddling. Devin Archer and Hunter Biden and their crew had no experience in anything except their relationship to Joe Biden, who was the vice president. And, we're learning more and more is coming out. But, I would continue to point that the Democrats clearly were trying to sweep this under the rug in the first impeachment because Donald Trump was asking exactly what was happening in the Ukraine. And is exactly what Joe Biden brags about firing the prosecutor who was investigating Burisma. This, to me, this is a prima facie case, Mark, and we're going to learn more and more as the days go by. And thank God that Congress is investigating this and getting to the bottom of it. But it's becoming clearer and clearer to me, to your point, that Joe Biden knew exactly what Hunter was doing, and quite frankly, appears to had been willing to do some work on his behalf.
They impeached Donald Trump that first time around to shut that investigation down, to keep that information quiet. It's now abundantly clear to me that's why they did what they did. But that said, and I want to continue after the break, the issue is Joe Biden. Joe Biden, 20 shell corporations, laundering money to get it to various members of his family. The phone calls, not 1 or 2, and this is just with Devin Archer. God knows what other phone calls that they were involved in. He's had the 20 with Archer, but there could be 500 of them for all we know. The various meetings that Archer refers to and others refer to, Bobolinsky refers to. This is overwhelming information that indicts Joe Biden. So for the left that says Donald Trump is running in order to protect himself so he can pardon himself, let me suggest this. Joe Biden is running because he doesn't want to be indicted. A sitting president cannot be indicted. An ex-president can. We'll be right back.
I'm a bear. I'm coming out of hibernation after the best nap of my life. And Papa is hungry. And while you're hitting the trail, I'm hitting your cooler. Oh, cheddar! I've got a hot dog bun. And your cut rate car insurance might not pay for all of this. So get Allstate and be better protected from mayhem. Like me. Roar!
Lose weight fast with Nutrisystem's Partner Plan. Together, lose up to 18 pounds in the first 2 weeks. The Partner Plan is a great value. Partners save 15% more money versus an individual plan. Plus, lose up to 20% more weight than doing it on your own.
If people work as a team, there's nothing that you can't accomplish.
Together, we lost 85 pounds with Nutrisystem.
The Partner Plan is designed for 2 people to keep you motivated and losing weight together. Get food for 2 people shipped free every 2 weeks. That's breakfast, lunches, dinners, and snacks for 2, including hearty inspirations that control your appetite for up to 5 hours.
The food comes to you. I mean, how easy is that?
Get healthy with the Partner Plan today and together lose up to 18 pounds in the first 2 weeks. Save 15% more money and lose up to 20% more weight than doing it on your own with Nutrisystem's Partner Plan. Call or go online to get started right now.
At Consumer Cellular, we offer amazing 5G coverage, backed up by incredible customer service. But that wouldn't mean much without super low prices. You already know we're up to half as much as the largest carriers. But guess what? AARP members can save even more. Yahoo!
Uh-oh. Switch to Consumer Cellular now and get unlimited talk and text with a flexible data plan starting at only $20 a month. For a limited time, switch and get your second month free.
Vacay the American way.
I like to just vibe. I like to go wild. Get a massage. This woman walked on my back. It was kind of kinky.
Monday on Jesse Waters Primetime.
Hey, Emma.
We need a mattress, right?
Yeah?
I've been doing a little research.
Little?
The Sofa Classic has 2 layers of springs that contour to your body.
Nice, but...
It has a 3-inch Euro pillow top, Dan.
Oh,
and it's half the price of retail.
But I just wanted to know about dinner.
Look at this premium quality, and it's half the price of retail stores.
Why do vitamins and supplements cost so much more now? Other companies are charging you more and more for less and less, and we hate that. That's why Force Factors partnered with Walmart to provide amazing supplements at great prices for all Americans. Force Factor products use clinically studied, patented ingredients to powerfully improve your health. They're also delicious, easy to use, and affordable. That's why Force Factor's now the #1 best-selling herbs and supplements brand at Walmart. Rush to Walmart and unleash your potential with Force Factor.
Create an amazing website with Fiverr. You'll need your web developer, UX writer, and Amy, a Fiverr freelance graphic designer with dozens of 5-star reviews who will join your team from her favorite coffee shop. Don't forget to tip. Expand your team with a Fiverr freelancer.
Over 100 million Americans have low or no credit. Maybe that's because your rent, cell phone, and utilities don't typically help your score. With Self, you can change all that and build credit just by paying your bills. Download Self and get the credit you deserve.
Matt Whitaker, you're former acting United States Attorney General. You know the rules for appointing a special counsel. You sat in that chair. What could possibly be the justification for Merrick Garland not appointing a special counsel with all these predicates in front of his face?
It's the only predicate. The only reason they're not appointing a special counsel is because the special counsel is a guided missile. It is the only time where you name the target of your investigation and sic somebody after them to prove a case. You know, there is no doubt that we have reached the level where a special counsel under the regulations is appropriate, should be appointed. But, you know, it also is who is the special counsel, and that matters a lot. And we're seeing in Donald Trump's case, Jack Smith is just, you know, obviously a very aggressive prosecutor that's, you know, using the law in untested and legally analyzed ways. And we're seeing Rob Hur in the other document case against Joe Biden that it doesn't appear to be doing anything. And so, you know, a special counsel is more than appropriate. This investigation actually was ongoing leading into 2020 when it was put to the side, the FD 1023 and those allegations. But, you know, we still have to get to the bottom of if Joe Biden used his official capacity as vice president to force the Ukraine with $1 billion to fire a prosecutor that was looking into that, that to me is certainly a crime, certainly a conspiracy with his son. And to your point, I just think a special counsel is more than needed because there's too much smoke, too many allegations, and too many things now. And remember, Hunter Biden complained about how half of his money was going to his dad. They need to start tracing the money and see if this was just a kickback scheme that Joe Biden was doing official work for Hunter's clients.
You're right about who the special counsel is, but the way I see it, right now the Attorney General is the special counsel, and he's the mob lawyer for this crime family, and he is not allowing anything to take place. He is the final say on the deal with Hunter Biden. He has the final say on everything related to this guy, Dave Weiss, despite all the propaganda to the contrary. Dave Weiss did not pursue all the leads. Dave Weiss did not go beyond the 2 districts, meaning his and Washington, in order to pursue allegations against Hunter Biden. This whole thing has been compartmentalized, while on the other hand, he hires the worst lawyer possible in America and The Hague to go after Trump. A special counsel appointment, when you don't appoint special counsel to go after your opponent, you appoint special counsel when there's an appearance or a real conflict within your own administration. And I want to thank you, Matt Whitaker, for not being Bill Barr, quite frankly, and for being out there and being a very honest individual with integrity, talking about these laws and these facts without any grudge or any animus. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
We'll be right back.
Popcorn.
Then
Adventure disaster, darling. We need Polygrip before crispy popcorn.
Let's fix this.
Polygrip Power Hold and Seal gives our strongest hold and 5 times food seal.
If your mouth could talk, it would ask for
Polygrip.
Icy Hot Pro starts working instantly with 2 max strength pain relievers. So you can rise from pain like a pro. Icy Hot Pro.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0. I'm interrupting this commercial to let you all know that you have made My Pillow 2.0 a huge success. And because of your amazing support, we've expanded My Pillow's USA manufacturing and jobs. To make room for this, we're clearing out our Percale bed sheets. And to thank you, I'm giving them to you at close-out prices. King size, only $39 a set. Queens, $35 a set. Full size, $29, and twin size, just $25. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime offer. Get these My Pillow bed sheets now. Once they're gone for good.
It takes special dedication to care for our elderly, especially when they need it most.
At Visiting Angels, we help seniors remain independent and safe in their own home.
And give families that special peace of mind, knowing that their loved ones have the best care possible.
America's seniors need our helping hand. So if you care about caring, come on and join our team.
Visiting Angels, America's choice in home care.
I'm not one of those players that can kind of just sit back and enjoy the ride. I'm always trying to find an edge, always breaking down the film, always trying to get better for the next game. UFOS is one of those things that I take value in. And when I'm done with the game, I put my UFOS on. I'm making a conscious effort to recover. The quicker you can recover, the quicker you can be back out there playing 100%. UFOS definitely helped me recover faster.
I know what you're thinking. This is not a dryer sheet. EarthBreeze is a new type of laundry detergent that looks like this. It's also so easy to use, dissolves quickly in any wash, and is totally plastic free. Yep, no plastic jug. EarthBreeze has over 50,000 5-star reviews from real customers that switched from their old-fashioned detergent. With EarthBreeze, there's no heavy jug, no gooey messes, and you can store it anywhere. Learn more at earthbreeze.com.
HomeAglow just cleaned my entire house for $19. No, seriously, $19. They showed up right on time and did my dishes, my laundry, they even cleaned my windows. You just pick a date, pick a cleaner, and enjoy a spotless house for $19. I love using HomeAglow, and I think you will too.
I can feel the winds of change.
This tip is about how to create the wow factor in your home. Every person that comes into my home comments about how amazing it smells. Thanks to Aroma 360 Scent Diffuser. You go directly to Aroma 360. Get yours today.
Nail fungus is nasty. OptiNail starts improving the appearance of fungus-damaged toenails in just 2 days. Its clinically proven formula penetrates the nail for results you can see quickly. OptiNail. Give fungus-damaged toenails a makeover.
Welcome back, America. My new book, The Democrat Party Hates America. Longest book I've ever written, but the most important book I've ever written, and the most comprehensive book ever written on the subject. And let me say this, right from the bottom of the book. The Democrat Party stands for the relentless pursuit of power and control. America was founded on the principle of individual and human liberty and the dispersion of political and governmental power. The Roman Republic lasted 482 years. Our republic is only 247 years old. If the Democrat Party succeeds, the American experiment will have failed. You look at every aspect of this culture, the politics, the government, society generally, it's collapsing. It's unraveling. And who's responsible? The party that wants to fundamentally transform America with